So we'll be installing that cat toy pretty soon. Come up with a new musical called Pussy Kitty, and it's about a lot of things. But for the actual dance part of it, I wanted to kind of show you here. So, you know, like a lot of musicals, they're kind of like real fluid and stuff. And it's kind of funny, and it's like, you know, Jesus Christ Superstar or Godspell. Complete opposite. So instead, you know, they're acting, doing their acting. All of a sudden they jump and they get real stuck. Pussy kitty, pussy, pussy kitty, pussy kitty. Always solve a problem of a drunk. Pussy kitty, pussy, pussy kitty, pussy kitty. Always solve a problem of a drunk. It's part of the musical that I'm working on too. So whenever they bring the cat in, it's real. Pussy kitty, pussy, pussy kitty, pussy kitty. Always solve a problem of a drunk. Meow. That kind of thing. He almost scratched me right there. But that's kind of thing. So it's like real mechanical, so it's comical. And then everybody goes into the regular thing. When it goes into dance, it gets real mechanical. And everything's kind of monotone. Pussy kitty, pussy, pussy kitty, pussy kitty. Always problems on things that are drunk. That kind of thing. So I asked Linda to kind of, you got any account information? Okay, good. All right, so this is the new cat toy that sticks to stuff.
How are you supposed to keep the balls in there with this on there?
You have to go like this. Okay, first, you put a little bit of lick on there. You want to lick it.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Then, what you do is why it's still kind of suction cuppy. Let's see, where's a real annoying spot? Let's see. Probably right here. There we go. This goes in there and tears it up. Go get it, kitty.
No, these go on the end.
Oh, you're right. Maybe those are backups.
Or maybe they're back.
Let's keep them for backups.
It doesn't have enough room to play. Move it
Because it can, yeah, that's why. We can move it around. Go get it, kitty.
You just got done eating.
Okay. We'll use these for backups. Pussy kitty, pussy, pussy kitty, pussy kitty. It always solves a problem of a drunk. Pussy kitty, pussy, pussy kitty. Where's the kitty? Oh, there he is. Pussy kitty. It always solves a problem of a drunk. Kitty, pussy.
Oh my
pussy,
God! How many times do you have to say it?
Pussy kitty. It always solves a problem of a drunk. Where'd he go?
Where's the yellow one? It's a cat.
Pussy kitty, pussy, pussy kitty, pussy kitty. It always solves a problem of a drunk. Pussy kitty, pussy, pussy kitty, pussy kitty. It always solves a problem of a drunk. Oh, we got the other one. So the musical's about these vloggers that vlog their cats on YouTube to make extra money. So one of the songs they sing is Pussy Kitty, Pussy, Pussy Kitty, Pussy Kitty. It always solves a problem of a drunk. Pussy Kitty, Pussy. So some of it's kind of like this because they're new at vlogging. So they're like, Pussy Kitty. It always solves, what's going on? It always solves a problem of a drunk. There we go. Pussy Kitty. They have cat toys and they make millions of dollars on their cats. It's mostly cats in it. There might be a few poodles too. Maybe a chihuahua. I actually did. I walked up to Willie Nelson in his tour van and shook his hand. Fort Worth Star-Telegram was there too and got photos. I wasn't in the photo, but I was in the write-up of that article about Willie Nelson and the Farmers back in 1993. It happened behind a Billy Bob's. So I met Willie Nelson and shook his hand. Sorry, I'm editing right now. Oh, and by the way, I'm wearing my appropriate t-shirt. Miracle on 34th Street. Mama, don't let your daughters work at Chick-fil-A. They'll cut up the uniform. They charge $80. You're paying Chick-fil-A just to work for them. Note to Casey Neistat. As much as you want to your vlog. Casey Neistat. Note. You're not doing a narrative. You're doing a documentary or a vlog. But a narrative is like Apocalypse Now. A narrative is like Orson Welles' Citizen Kane. A narrative is a fictional story. It can be based on real life, but it's still a fictional story. You are real, to my knowledge. You're not a fictional character. Even though you want to be, I understand. Glorious Glow Hands that we do is a narrative. Linda and I, we do a narrative called Glorious Glow Hands. We have 6 episodes. Those are all narratives. A narrative has a different feel. Like if you had David Lynch drinking coffee in the kitchen, that's a documentary about David Lynch. But when David Lynch is doing Twin Peaks and he's Gordon Cole, then he's doing a narrative. Now, if your real name is not Casey Neistat, and it's all fiction, then it is a narrative, but it's not, because I know you're doing a documentary. So in your teaching class, tell the students what the difference between a narrative and a documentary is, because I know that you teach. They need to know the truth. Also, go by NYU. Talk to Spike Lee, talk to Martin Scorsese. Talk to them about the difference between a narrative and a documentary. And they will tell you, you're doing a vlog. It's kind of a documentary. But you can go into narrative. And that's when you put on like a character that has a different name. And there's fictional characters. So-and-so comes in. Mr. Pink comes in with the diamonds. That's narrative. But you don't know anyone named Mr. Pink. We don't know who Mr. Pink is. Steve Buscemi played him in Reservoir Dogs. Not Casey Neistat, but he played Mr. Pink in the narrative called Reservoir Dogs. Narratives are fiction. It's a world of fiction. Shakespeare wrote narratives. We do documentaries or vlogs, right? So don't pretend like you're Orson Welles, even though you do have some nice narrative components, but you're doing a vlog. There's a difference. Don't try to change it. Even though Francis Ford Coppola wanted to, there's still a separation between church and state, narrative and documentary. One more note to Casey Neistat in New York. The reason why it's important to know the difference between a narrative and a documentary is because we, as artists, try to change the destination. Let me go back. So the major difference between a narrative and a documentary. So the reason why we try to change ourselves into the narrative is because we want to change the fate that God has given us. So that's why we explore narrative. Because we're not satisfied with the fate that God gave us, so we change it into a narrative and we become something different. We go into like a parallel universe almost. And that's when you're dealing with movies that are fictional, about fictional characters, which are narratives. When we still include the fate that God has chosen for us, or we try to include it, then we try to explain it with a documentary in a superficial way with a camera, which is not real. Well, it's real. A camera is real, But you never get the truth on a documentary. There are components that will fall in to a documentary that are similar to narrative, and then there's narrative components that will fall into a documentary, and they can kind of, but it's either one or the other, right? Now, let's say if Bradley Cooper is doing like a Twilight Zone episode that I may recreate, and all of a sudden he turns to the camera and he realizes he's Bradley Cooper, and he says something about Bradley Cooper, or about being Bradley Cooper, and then he goes back into the character again. So there's some components that there's a documentary there for a minute. Bertolt Brecht dealt with this a little bit on the stage because he wanted people to know that it was a play. And obviously Casey Neistat knows this. But the reason why is because I was watching this tail end of one of his vlogs, and he talks about teaching filmmaking. And he's riding on a skateboard and he's filming New York City. And he says, these are the things that you can put into your narrative. So yes, he is correct. So in a way, I'm kind of maybe misinterpreting what I thought he meant. But he didn't say, these are the things that you can put into your vlog. These are the things that you can put into your documentary. Right? He said, these are the things that you can put in your narrative. So you can have a vlog, or you can have a narrative that looks like a vlog, and you'll know the difference, right? So in a way, that's what I'm criticizing, is not necessarily misinterpretation, but I'm criticizing my interpretation of what I heard him say. He's definitely not doing a narrative. So if he's teaching how to do narrative, then he wants to go to English class, and he wants to read short stories or books like Pilgrim's Progress is a very good narrative. Read Pilgrim's Progress by John Bunyan. That's the first narrative. I was going to say the Bible. The Bible's not. The Bible has some aspects of the narrative, but it's not exactly. It's the living Word of God, so it's not exactly a narrative. I'm trying to think. I say Pilgrim's Progress is ideal because in Pilgrim's Progress, Christian's character meets other characters and stuff. So it's a great narrative. It's a great model for the narrative. Orson Welles knew a lot about narrative. So did Alfred Hitchcock. Alfred Hitchcock knew a whole lot about narrative. Scorsese knows a lot about narrative, and so does Spike Lee. Even though Spike, sometimes you feel like you're seeing his life, but it's more kind of a narrative because you use fictional names and characters in this fictional worlds. All the fictional worlds fall right into a narrative. Now, I can be argued with what I'm saying is like, oh, no, it's not. You can throw a narrative and make it possibly a documentary. You actually can't, because the documentarian's going to go, wait a minute. What are we watching here, right? Are we watching a documentary about someone that has a real life? Is that his real couch? Or is it a set, right? Cole Spivey is a real person. Now, I don't know. Casey Neistat could be a made-up person, so I don't really know. So in a way, I'm criticizing something that I don't have like actual proof of, but from what I'm looking at, I'm saying, is he doing a vlog? Or is he making this all up and he's really a guy named Tom Jones, I don't think that's the case. So the vlog is new, the video logging something and ideas and giving it, but you'll definitely know when you're watching a narrative. Twilight Zone is great. When I watch Twilight Zone, I definitely know that I'm watching a narrative. When I watch the news, I know that I'm watching like media style kind of documentary shows. Well, not always, but sometimes they do documentaries. And when I see Vice, on YouTube, then I know that I'm watching kind of a video log documentary kind of stuff that Vice is giving to us. But then also there are other documentaries that are like about a narrative. Great example. Okay. Here's a good example if you're going to use for your film class, Mr. Casey Neistat. Look at the film Apocalypse Now. Big time narrative, right? Based on a book. Kurtz is in it. Marlon Brando plays a character. All these fictional characters talking, blah, blah, blah. Great. Apocalypse Now. Now look at Hearts of Darkness, which is a documentary made by Francis Ford Coppola's wife And she videotaped Francis Ford Coppola, or maybe she filmed it. She might have filmed it too. But it doesn't matter. She still filmed him in the action of making a narrative. Very clear there. So you watch Hearts of Darkness and you go, oh, that's a good example. You go, oh, that's a documentary. And then Apocalypse Now is a narrative. I'm about to sneeze. I want to get the sneeze. It's very hard for an actor to sneeze on set because it's very difficult for a sense memory kind of thing. So did Cole come up with sense memory and fake the sneeze, or was the sneeze real? If the sneeze was real, then it's kind of a documentary, kind of natural approach to acting. If the sneeze was fake, then Cole is being kind of narrative, right? So anyway, Apocalypse Now and Hearts of Darkness. Okay, Apocalypse Now, the narrative based on Hearts of Darkness, the book, but not to be confused with Hearts of Darkness, the documentary about Apocalypse Now. Two different styles of filmmaking. One a narrative, one a documentary. One a narrative and one like a vlog or a flog, a film log. There. Go. Oh, wait a minute. Go ahead. It's fine. So I'm doing a study on James and Carla. And Linda doesn't understand it. I lived in New York City, and I lived in a very big place. I was very fortunate because I was part of the New School University and the Actor Studio Drama School, which is funded by many movie stars and all kinds of stuff, including James Lipton, who's passed away, rest in peace. Now, James and Carla's doing a show about bagels, and they've done it a while back, like 2 years ago around the pandemic. But I wanted to show you exactly how big this place is as opposed to an apartment in New York City. And I'm going through several different rooms. I mean, this is like a mansion, you know. And this is like a closet here. And I don't want to show you how messy my closets are. I'll show you an example. This is a smaller one. This is still a walk-in closet, you know. And then you've got another one right over here. We got a balcony right here. And then you've got this one. I'll just show it kind of upward, kind of like how, you know, I'll turn the light on. You can like just walk in. And then right over here is a huge bathroom for a New Yorker. But for a Texan, this would be fairly small. This place is, in Texas, this is a pretty small place. What's the square footage here, Snickles? What's the square footage here?
I turned it off because I'm gonna...
No, the square footage. What is it here?
650 or something.
She thinks it's 650 square feet. But anyway, this is the living room area. It's very, I'm fine. I know, but if we were in New York City, this is what it would be like. This would be the front door to the apartment.
Not all of them.
And this would be the apartment size.
Those are probably
the kitchen would be over here.
All right.
The bedroom would be over here. This would be where you would cook. And then the bathroom would be like right there. And then like every day would be like, it'd be like this every day.
I wonder why they have a high divorce
Hi,
rate.
sweetie. New York. How are you today? Hey, over there. How you doing? And then this would be the front door. Not joking around. But in Texas, we have these other rooms. We can jump and do musicals and plays. This would be like a theater, you know, huge, lots of room with all this stuff. It's great. People don't know how lucky they actually have it. Go to New York City and see what an average person makes an average amount of money, lives in an average apartment. Now, when I visited my friend Kara a long time ago, when I first got in the actor studio, I went and visited her apartment. She had, I think, 2 or 3 kids. And it was probably about the size from here, being the front door, to probably maybe half the size of that, maybe that kitchen area over here. Not a lot of room for a family, but they do it all the time in New York. In Texas, we have lots of room, and you go outside and you see the horizon. It goes on for a very long time. It's all flat. The Mainers, they call us flatlanders, not flatliners. That's another movie. That's Today is a Good Day to Die. That's landers. Flatlanders. I get stuff mixed up, but they call us flatlanders because everything's flat. But boy, we got plenty of space. Now, I'm not bragging. I'm just telling you how it is. Now, James and Carla, their studio's huge, and really it's, to a Texan, it's like, that's kind of cramped, but that's big. They got a big studio. It's just because there's 8 million people in one area in New York City. In Fort Worth, there's barely even 900,000 or so. It's approaching 1 million. But they are actually building more cozier apartments. The thing that I don't like about where apartments are going is like everything's just going online. I like the idea that you have an office, you can go in, get cookies, you can talk. I love that community aspect of apartment living. And a lot of New Yorkers do have that because they have doormen that help them get into some apartments. There's different sizes. Some apartments are huge in New York. The movie stars and stuff like that, and the rock stars, they live in like huge apartments, like bigger than this. But on average, the New Yorker doesn't live in 650 square feet, I don't think. I'd have to look it up. I'll look it up and get back to you. Okay, so in New York City, the average studio is 472 square feet. But the average one bedroom, believe it or not, is 700 something square feet. So it's a little bit bigger than this place on average. But still, this place, to me, is pretty big. But these were like people's homes, though. You got to realize, most people in Texas, I wouldn't say most, but many people that are well off, because if you're going to have a 700 square feet apartment in New York City, you're going to be somewhat well off, at least close to middle class. Or, well, if you're an artist, they may do more of a studio size. It just depends on the type of person you are. Let's just put it that way. Let's just say there's some cramped spaces in New York City. Wash our hands. Watch Cash Jordan. He goes through a lot of different sizes of apartments in New York City. Cash Jordan's great. Now here's the thing too. The place I think in Carrollton that we were in at the beginning of this vlog, I think that was probably closer to 700 square feet. But that also had a downstairs garage that I could have probably leased out. That was, that increased the square footage of the entire apartment. Because the apartment was kind of 2 floors, so you walked up the staircase and everything. Anyway, I guess they're saying it's about the same. I haven't done the research myself, but I would think that the apartments in New York City are probably going to be a little bit smaller than the ones in Texas, but it could be about the same. I don't know. But like I was going to say, a big chunk of people that live in Texas, they actually live in a house, so they chose to get a mortgage. But there's been whole studies, and there's been like a lot of people that have done research and stuff, and they find out that by having an actual house or a mortgage, you limit your freedom level. So they're like, well, I don't want a mortgage so that I can go and live here, or I can move around, or I can do other things with my life. And they've lived a very happy life without even having a mortgage. Then there's other people that have had mortgages and flipped their houses and sold their houses and then went back into apartments. Or some of them even gone on the road and stuff, like different lives and stuff. So right now what I'm finding on YouTube is it's interesting to see different people's choice of living. Some people are on the road and they live in like a Sprinter, like a Mercedes Sprinter for a while. Then they go back and living into an apartment, or they go back and living into a house. So there's different like ways of living. But then there's also different styles of people. Some people can do that, and then there's some people that cannot do that. So there's different choices that people make on how they want to live. I think Chrome's channel up in Canada, he's very pro like living mobily. In Canada, having a small space when you're dealing with negative 20-degree temperatures is not such a dumb thing, especially when it gets extremely cold in Canada, very cold. In New York, it's probably about the same, but the life in New York is mostly apartment life, if it's New York City. There's also upstate New York where there's farming, there's farm life, and there's housing life too. Like places like Woodstock, for example, mostly houses. In Texas, it's kind of a combination between housing and apartments and other styles of living. You can even find communities of RV people, and there's a whole community of those types too, as well as communities of like duplexes and other kinds of houses and, you know, other apartments living and stuff like that. I guess it's similar to apartment living. So there's all different styles, and talking about it, you know, you start to realize, wow, you know, not everyone chooses to live a certain way, you know, ultimately. So just because you're in an apartment doesn't make you like a loser at all. You may be more of an adventurer. While if you got a house and you got a mortgage, you better stay with it or find a way to flip it and sell it, because you know, you better like your neighbors. I did a little more research and I found out that it's 707 square feet here. But in New York, the average size of most apartments are about the same. That's what they're saying, but on the lowdown, they're mostly like 400 square feet or like 500. Cash Jordan will show you. He'll go to Cash Jordan's YouTube site. I've been studying it. He goes into the apartments. He measures it with this little laser thing, gets the exact footage. Not all of them are that big, for show.